1917 in Russia. Today we're going to explore the revolution through the eyes of George Orwell in his allegorical novel, Animal Farm. In the novel, it focuses on animals on a farm run by a man named Mr. Jones, who represents Tsar Nicholas II. Today we're going to focus on three main events. The first of these events is the spontaneous revolution, which took place in February 1917. In the book, this is represented by the animals being very hungry after Mr. Jones came back from a particularly drunk weekend. He came back on Friday and didn't wake up until midday Sunday and still did not feed the animals. The animals weren't happy about this. So they broke into the food shed. After they broke into the food shed, Mr. Jones woke up because of commotion and came out with whips and his men and started whipping the animals. The animals didn't like this, and with no prior planning, they started attacking Mr. Jones and his men. They ended up driving Mr. Jones and his men off the farm. Now, this represents the events that took place in February 1917 and October. The Tsar Nicholas II was not a very good ruler, and he sent his men, his military, to put down the worker strikes and unions that were going on in Russia at the time. But the military, they didn't like this because they actually sympathized with the people. They understood what the people were going through. Also, they saw what was happening to other military men who took down the strikes. Not good things. So they didn't put down the strikes. And this escalated more and more and more until the people actually drove the Tsar out of power and they implemented the provisional government. Now this only represents what took place in February. Then in October, in the book we only get one revolution, but in real life in October there was a second revolution. This is when the Bolsheviks led by Vladimir Lenin came in and they took out the provisional government because they weren't happy with that. In the book this is represented by the pigs and Snowball and Napoleon coming in and taking control of the farm and assuming control when they did relatively little in the actual revolution. Now we're going to go on to our second event. The second event that we're going to talk about is Stalin's 5-year plans. In the book Animal Farm, this is represented by the building of the windmill by the animals. Now the windmill is Snowball's idea. Snowball represents Leon Trotsky. His goal is to industrialize the farm and make the animals' lives easier. Vote for Snowball in the 3-day work week. Napoleon, on the other hand, directly opposes this idea. He opposes everything Snowball says. But most of the animals support Snowball. So on the day that came to decide whether they'd spend a year building the windmill, Napoleon came in with his dogs. Woof, woof. He drove Snowball off the farm, who represents the exile of Leon Trotsky. Now only Napoleon is in control on the farm. But get this, Napoleon still wants to build the windmill. He still decides to build the windmill. The animals are quite confused, but he goes ahead with it anyway, and they keep working. Now life on the farm is worse than ever. Food rations are lower, the work weeks are longer, and the work hours are longer. The animal lives are worse than ever. This represents exactly what went on in Russia. Joseph Stalin and Leon Trotsky were both fighting for power. Leon Trotsky wanted to focus on spreading communism throughout the world and industrializing Russia. Stalin, on the other hand, wanted to feed the Russian people and wanted to keep socialism in one country, keep communism in Russia. But then, after Leon Trotsky got exiled, Stalin completely changed his mind. He said, you know what, we need to industrialize this country now. So they did. But while they did this, collectivized farming and such, millions of people starved to death, and life in Russia sucked horribly. Stalin did a horrible job on his first 5-year plan. In this first plan failed miserably, just as the first windmill collapsed in the windstorm. But then there was subsequent 5-year plans, which ended up being way more successful for the Russian people and Russia, as Stalin learned from his mistakes, just as the animals learned from building the first windmill. This is how this relates to the Russian Revolution. Let's move on to our third and final event. The third and final event that we're going to talk about is the invasion of the USSR by Germany. In the novel, this is represented by Mr. Frederick making a deal with the animals and then giving them fake bills and invading the farm with his men and their guns. Now, in the novel, Napoleon makes a deal to trade for lumber. Mr. Frederick agrees to this deal and gives them bills. This represents the German-Soviet pact that took place before the Second World War. This is the pact that said the Germans and the Soviets would not attack each other. Then the Germans broke this pact through Operation Barbarossa and invaded the USSR. Now the USSR got driven back immensely during this time. The Germans ended up just about 20 miles out of Moscow and Stalingrad was in ruins. This is when the Russian people regrouped and performed a counterattack and started driving the Germans back. In the novel, Animal Farm, this is represented by the animals hiding in the barn and then Napoleon rallying the animals as they come back out and attack Mr. Frederick and his men once more. They attack his men and end up encircling his men and drive them off the farm. This is exactly what happened in Stalingrad during the Second World War. The Germans got encircled by the Soviet Union at Stalingrad, and around 400,000 German men died in Stalingrad. And as we all know, the Russians drove the Germans back into Berlin and won the war. This is exactly what happened in the novel Animal Farm when Mr. Frederick and his men came to invade the farm. Ideologically, Animal Farm is very similar to Stalingrad, as Stalingrad bore Stalin's name in real life. That's why Stalin wanted to protect Stalingrad so much, and Hitler wanted to destroy it so badly, and they made poor decisions by each of them during the war. And that concludes our video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.